everybody. Today's part three of the series of, part three of the series around thriving in uncertain times. And today we did the first one, the first two road trip on resilience and adaptability. And this one is going to be on maximizing opportunities. So we kind of built, we saw that as a narrative. And what I just want to stress is that in order to maximize opportunities, and we'll talk about that as we go along, resilience and adaptability will often raise their heads. We're not revisiting that today. I'm going to take it, assume that you're now resilient and adaptable. And we're just going to take on maximizing opportunities. At some point down the line, you may want to just go back and see, when you're trying to maximize an opportunity and you get stuck, what are the tools from the previous ones that can help you move forward? Okay, but today we're really going to focus on, today we're really going to focus on this whole notion of opportunity. The reason that I want to do, and a lot of where this idea surfaced from the outset about why to do this, is I want to link two things. Number one is we are in uncertain times. I'm noticing often just during conversations with people that people are walking around going, put all the challenges and difficulty aside for a second, there are certain things that I'm really starting to appreciate and to value. Whereas before they never really surfaced, or I didn't really think about it. All of a sudden, I'm just noticing things that I'm valuing. And then the question is, but what am I going to do with it? Am I going to lose it when things somewhat normalize again? How do I capture and keep hold of all these amazing insights that I'm getting and the opportunities of what they're affording me? How do I actually make use of them moving forward? The tool that I'm going to use to address this is based a little bit on something we did in immersive experiences, and I'll come to that in a second. But the reason I'm linking it to immersive experiences is that for me, this is a very similar challenge to all those immersive experiences that we have as learners, where they come to camp and they come to this experience and they come to that experience and a Shabbaton and a weekend and a 3-week Israel trip. They all become inspired, transformed, and they all go home and they're wearing tzitzit for 2 days and then it stops. Right? And we all keep saying to ourselves, how do we help our learners, ourselves, hang on to those little bits of insight and value that somehow we just don't know how to restructure back into our lives as they were before. So that's basically the frame of what I'm going to do today. This is going to be about, if you have a look at there, I've got introduction, conceptual analysis, practicing, and then we're going to do takeaways. So I'm going to try and give you as much time as I can for practicing. This is going to be very, very practical. We're not doing huge theories. I want to focus on some very practical things, and we're going to do it using examples. Okay, ready to go? All right, so if you have a look at, and now I just have to find it for me. If you have a look at the second slide, today's agreement, I'm just really borrowed this from Rhoda. Everything here is judgment-free and confidential. We are recording it, and if anybody has any reservations about that, please let me know. We are all doing our best. We are listening. We're going to give and receive generative feedback. We're actually going to try and adopt a little bit of a new thought pattern today for those that this is new, and it's a process. This takes time. Somebody said to me when I introduced this, I should make it clear there's no pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. In other words, we're going to come out with very humble ideas about what to do. I honestly have done this with a few people. I actually do think there is a pot of gold, but I don't want to oversell anything. Okay, so let's move on. Definition about opportunities. A time or set of circumstances that makes it possible to make the best use of something. A time or set of circumstances mean we were in a context. Something happened at a context in a time. And this is a perfect example of this. We're going through a pandemic. This is a time or set of circumstances that have surfaced possibilities. It makes it possible. All of a sudden, we're confronted with possibilities that we actually weren't thinking about before. And what we want to do is to make the best use of it. And the two key words here are best and use. The best is how do we get the most out of it, and use is what do we do. We need to translate this into something active, practical, and actual doing. So how do we do that? So what I want to do is I just want to give you this frame that's taken from, were any of you in immersive experiences number 2 about the design of architecture? So this is familiar to you? If anyone has done this, so this we did in number 2. And what this says is as follows. You just all think of a camp, let's say, experience, or a trip to Israel, that kind of an experience. What happened is that the first thing you do is you separate. You leave your house, you leave your family, you leave your routine, you sometimes leave your phone, you separate from something. This separation actually puts you in a little bit of an unstable state. It puts you, they call it being betwixt and between. You're in this right? And by the way, it even applies to airport terminals for the first time are liminal spaces, right? They're spaces where we cut off what's familiar, and all of a sudden we're in a state that's unfamiliar. And when we're in an unfamiliar place and we can't rely on the structures that we normally are used to, all of a sudden we start learning and noticing new things. And that's really what the power of immersive experiences are. Immersive experiences that we actually intentionally take people out of familiar situations. We offer experiences, and because the people are not in normal structures, it's actually easier to learn and integrate. It doesn't always happen, but it does make it easier. And that is really the power of immersive experiences. So a liminal state is when the subject enters a liminal space or setting, and you separate it from the traditional social, intellectual, whatever other structures, and it facilitates experiences that allow for impact and change in ways that other spaces cannot. Okay, and you just think, you go from a school setting to a work setting to a home setting, the chances for learning are very different than if you go on a seminar somewhere where you're actually away from home, away from this. And what actually happens, the process that's intrinsic in this, if you wondered why it is that retreats work so well, is because you actually are now disconnected. You've been disconnected from structures you're familiar with. It actually allows new kinds of learning to happen. And the big challenge is afterwards, how do you reintegrate? How do you go back home afterwards and actually take the learnings with you in ways that are valuable? Okay, so that's the process. I'm going to stop very quickly about questions just around these 3 stages. Anybody have a question? Clear? Good. All right. So, Corona is a liminal, right? This is it, this pandemic, right? The really interesting thing about this as a liminal, as a separation to liminality, what's really interesting about it is this is the one time where the geography never changed. Usually liminality is created when geography changes. This is one time where the one thing that stayed the same was geography. Everything else, all the other structures almost that we were familiar with, changed. Geography didn't. But that's what's giving this such a strong liminal feel to it, right? Is that we are entering into a space where most of the structures that we are familiar with are gone. We are used to traveling everywhere. Now we're not traveling. We're used to eating without having to wash the packages before we eat. We trusted things, now we don't trust them. Right? All the familiar structures, routines, we now work from home. We now do this. We're with our family all day long. We aren't seeing people in person. I could go on and on and on. We have separated from so many things. Even though we stayed at home, it's making it liminal. And therefore, it is not surprising that all of a sudden, all these insights are happening to us. Right? And again, I'm putting aside the challenges. All of a sudden, we're starting to appreciate and realize things that we never had, that we never really thought about before, or that we're saying, I cannot lose this. And in the back of our minds, we all know that the minute there's a some sort of day after, gone, right? And I just as an example of this, I did this with my kids. We started talking about how we enjoy eating meals at home together now. And we said, right, what we're going to do when this is all behind us? We're going to have dinner every night together. Well, it took, I'll give my family credit. It did take us 3 minutes to understand that that actually wasn't going to happen. And in the end, we compromised on one night a week with whoever's available. But I want to tell you, if we do that, it's progress, right? In the sense that we took something valuable and we're trying to find a place for it. Okay, but that's the process we're going to explore here today. Okay, so number one is we truly separated from so many things and this feeling of security. And this separation is, in addition to challenging, surfacing so many amazing insights. So we are now in this liminal stage of uncertainty. The world waters are stormy, etc. So much is unpredictable. And this period of uncertainty is one that also provides opportunities for learning. All of a sudden, we're appreciating more that life is fragile. I'm just giving examples. I love mostly spending time with my family. And, you know, things like learners are adapting to different ways of learning. I'm starting to learn things and discover things that I actually hadn't thought about before. And the big challenge now is how do we take these new understandings with us, not to lose them, and what am I really learning about the secrets of life and take it with me. Okay, so that's the process we're going to look at today. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask you, before I continue, to stay on the slide of now. Let's center on reintegration. What I want you to do, and I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Actually, let me just stop for 1 second. Any questions? All good? Okay. What I want you all to do now is you all have a piece of paper and pen with you. Yes? Okay. On one side of the paper, right at the top, personal. And I will give you 2 minutes or so. I want you each to write down 2 insights, personal insights about life in general. Just not stay away from the professional. It can be about health. It can be about the birds. It can be about whatever you want. 2 things, insights, that you turn around and you go, I don't want to lose this moving forward. I want to capture this in some sort of way moving forward. So just take a minute or two, 2 insights about something that you really want to keep. Okay, turn the page over. Right at the top, professional. 2 insights that relate to your professional life, sales, work, or things that you would actually like to keep. Okay, all good? Okay. So very quickly, I'm actually going to do a round. I just want, you can choose any one of the, either side of the page. I just want to do a quick round of the kinds of insights that are, this group is now presenting. So I'm just going to go around if I can, and then choose just one of them. Okay. Esther, can we start with you? Let's go.
Okay. Personal or professional?
Would you choose? I don't mind either one.
So I'll say for the professional, I'm just taking opportunities to learn with and to teach with colleagues that I never would have done before. And I want to figure out how to continue doing that. Like people that I never would have thought to partner with, learn with, think with, talk to, and that's been really wonderful.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to come back to that maybe. All right, let's continue. Michelle.
Okay, I put for personal, I don't want to run around so much, and I want to keep my exercise routine at home. That's been great. Having a good time.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I want you to try and think about framing that as the insight. Understand what you don't want to do. What's the insight? What are you appreciating in that?
I appreciate that I don't have to run around so much.
When you don't run around, what does it give you?
Gives me a little bit more calmness in my life, a little bit less stress that I can do some of these things from home, right, and not be running around in circles.
Right. So the insight is not traveling, is actually bringing a sense of calm. Right, Khani?
Professionally, my insight is that I value having time with the people who are not living close to me and they are adults.
Nice. Melinda?
I'm appreciating the time with my kids. I have 3 teenage boys, and so like that they're allowing me to spend time with them, and that I'm feeling connected to them. I want to maintain that.
Lovely. Noah?
I'd say they're both hand in hand. Personally, I'm appreciating learning time and time with my pod from M Squared, Charles for Life, and also deeper value explorations on a day-to-day basis, professionally.
Okay. Andrea? You're on mute.
Sorry about that. My insight is that I get an incredible amount of energy and motivational boost from reconnecting with old friends and extended family, and I want to just keep that up.
Okay, Michelle. Julie.
I appreciate the smiles on my grandson's face through Zoom every day when we see him, since we don't get to be with him.
Okay. Joey.
I put that I like not making plans so far in advance these days.
Okay. Put that on the positive.
I love having my weekends free until I want to fill them with things.
No. Okay. All right.
I have been making challah every Friday, and I have one for me, one for my mother-in-law, which I deliver to her, and then 2 that I distribute to random people in the congregation or friends, and all of that tied with the fact that Esther and I trade photographs every Friday with our whole SEC group. She has the Shabbat picture of a flower that we all share. Esther, you've got to develop the smell-o-vision piece. We need to be able to smell those flowers. And then I share the challahs later when they're done. Has just brought such.
Now I want to taste the challahs.
I got to figure out how to get it to you fresh. I'm going to have to come to Jerusalem and make them there. I think that's what's going to have to happen. It's a peaceful, like my Shabbos begins, even though I'm still doing work while in between the various stages of the baking. I've already told my wife, I said, this is not stopping when we get to go back to normal life. I need to keep baking challah. I've been buying yeast by the pound from Amazon.
Okay. Araya, I'm not sure. First of all, welcome. I'm not sure if you got the prompt or not.
I just got it right now, and I didn't have a chance to read it yet. But from what I hear people are saying, I can say only one positive for me is that I can see my kids and my kids in Israel, which before Zoom, it was hard. So yes.
Okay, very nice. All right. So what I'm going to do, Esther, I'm going to use you, if you don't mind, as a little test case. And we're going to go through this together. Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do as follows. Okay. So go to step 1. Right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a quick one. Then you're going to go into breakout rooms in pairs and practice it. And we're going to see how that goes for everybody. But the idea is we're going from insight to implementation. Right. These are opportunities that have been affording us. And I know that in most of your examples are quite easily digested and understood. They're very easy. This also applies to more complex ones. You just have to spend more time on it, just thinking through what the implications are. But I really do think these very basic steps will help you. So what do you now know? Let's go back to that insight that you shared with us.
I now know that I have colleagues that I can turn to and learn with and teach with.
Okay, and this is something that's changed, right? Okay, so that's it. So number 1 is to just articulate what is the insight. When you just appreciate, you sit down and you stop and you articulate the insight. Okay, all right. Step number 2, what allowed the insight to emerge? This is a crucial step in this process. What structures did you actually break from that allowed this to emerge? And this is important because when things do normalize or you transition back, one of the things is what you separated from, and when you go back to it, it has to look different. So therefore, it's very important to not only understand the insight, but what actually allowed the insight to emerge. Okay, so what allowed the insight to emerge? What did you separate from?
I would say 2 things. One is that there's time, which I don't always have, or I don't always make.
What did you separate from?
My busy life.
Okay. I actually would push you and say, what specifically in that? Was it routine? Was it work? Was it,
work.
Just try and articulate within that. If it's a lot of things, that's fine. Just, I would actually articulate what did you actually separate from that's allowing this? Right?
Well, the other thing I separated from was that I don't know that I would have normally randomly turned to somebody and say, I want to learn with you. It's not something that I would normally do. And I separated from that and I did it. So
that like for me is one that's key, right? What did you separate from that allowed you to spontaneously turn to somebody? Is it inhibitions? Is it these opportunities? Is it like what was there that has changed?
I think the opportunity presented itself in a different way than it was before.
Can you give how?
For example, I'm learning with the rabbi because the organization that I work for offered pastoral care. I've never offered that before. So pastoral care was, and by the way, I never would have gone for it but I was like, yalla. So I checked, and there's a woman on the list who I've never had a conversation with. I've known her for 20 years. We've never really talked. And so now we're learning once in a while.
So I think there's a lot to be explored there. We're not going to do it now. There's a lot to be explored there in terms of what you, even in a busy life, what it is you are connected to, right? In terms of noticing other opportunities. All of a sudden you can notice. You have, the ability to notice. Okay? Very important, because when you do this again, going back, what you have to bear in mind that you don't get caught in the same cycle of now seeing those opportunities. Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Next is moving from insight to idea. Okay? An insight is not an idea. An insight doesn't have an action to it. An idea already is moving towards action. So my question is to you now, what's the what if around that?
What's my idea?
What is the what if around your insight? What if you did what with this insight? Moving forward.
Moving forward, I can certainly take what I'm learning now and learn with other people, and offer what I've learned to others, and continue to check out new opportunities.
Do it into you're staying theoretical. What if you did what?
What if I took the Yehuda Amichai poetry that I'm learning and offered it to the cohort that I'm a part of in M Squared, which I just did the second.
There we go. All right, the movement from insight to idea really needs to be concrete and specific, because otherwise it just stays in this abstract realm of, I don't know what actually is going to happen with this, right? It's all intentions. It needs to go into an idea. Okay, so the transition from insight to idea is crucial. Okay, next. Now we're going to go from idea to implementation. And there are two ways to do that. Number one is what needs to get done. It's kind of a to-do list, right? You need to find that Yehuda Amichai poem, you need to phone people, you need to do this. And the most important thing is this also a habit? That's something that you really want to stay ongoing. And I think there is a distinction here between projects and like ongoing, like routine things, like I'm going to exercise every day for the whatever. But how do you now go from the idea to the to-do list? And we're not going to do it now, but really this is about what's realistic. So remember I said we went in our family from having dinner together every night to making it maybe once a week with whoever can manage it. What's the to-do list, right? We have to decide on the day. We have to put it in the calendar. We have to make sure everybody knows about it. There's a to-do list around it. And also we want to do it weekly. So it actually becomes a habit for all of us, right? So that you go from insight to idea, idea to action. And the action needs to be very, very specific. There's a clear to-do list. In the big project, this to-do list might involve research. I need to actually go and check something, right? I need to go and see how this works. Is there an opportunity? And I can go through examples, separately about that. But like if you really have an insight that's about changing the world, sometimes it just involves, I need to go and check this, read this, do this, speak to this. Then I need to put together a plan. Like you can do a much broader to-do list. And the habits, you can just work out what realistically makes sense. Two things I want to just add to this process. When you do this, what's priority? Is this a priority? Is Yehuda Amichai really the one insight you want to move forward with? And this is important because honestly, you might have 20 insights from this whole period and you're not going to get 20 things done. So it's really important, less is more. What's the one or two or three things you can really hold on to moving forward? Because otherwise it becomes overwhelming and too much. And enthusiasm, there's so much research. When you're enthusiastic about something, you'll go much further than if you're doing it because you have to. So enthusiasm is a really important component. Okay, what I want you to do, all right, quick questions. Any questions? Good, all clear? All right, so what I want you to do now is we're going to break you up into pairs. You are pairs as you are now. So you're going to get broken up into pairs. Each one, you'll have 20 minutes to 5-2. Each one, let's say 10 minutes on an insight you want to work on. Anyone, just go through the steps and come see if you can get to a place where it's clear to you what this looks like moving forward. And it can be in a month's time or two, it doesn't really matter. What are the next steps to do it forward? And then we'll just use the last 5 minutes to sum up. I just really want to give you breakout time to work on it. All good?
I learned from Ira that, like, I think it took this crazy pandemic to actually look at some of the issues that should have been looked at a while ago, but now, like, there's no choice but to say, like, we have to change everything. Whereas before you could always, like, sort of push it off and, like, not really pay attention and just do same old, same old. You can't do same old anymore because we're in a pandemic, and that can work to our advantage.
Yeah, it's going to be an accelerator for me.
Right. Okay.
I'm learning that it's really difficult to go from insight to idea, from idea to a to-do list. It's easier to go from insight to idea, less so from idea to a to-do practical list.
Wow. Okay. I actually do want to point out one thing that honestly, I get that. I think that insight to idea, people, and idea to implementation, different people will struggle. I think what's so easy to get lost is to really understand the separation. What actually allowed us to emerge? Because if you nail that, you really will understand what's at the heart of what this insight is about and what needs to happen. The separation is a big, big piece that's so easy to overlook. People keep going forward. They don't think about, you know, what was it? Like it might be like I was just thinking about Esther's, right? That I'm not saying it was this, but, you know, she's thinking, oh, it's routine. It might actually be about inhibition, or it might be about something, just the way that she is, right? And that's something different to not to go back to, or to find a different way around it than a routine. Because we can't blame everything on routines and Corona, right? Some things are really, and if we spend the time just to really work out what's at the core of this, the switch is really, I think, more impactful. All right, any other comments about, or questions? Where did any of you get stuck, or where you know, what was particularly difficult? Yes.
I'll just
Andrea.
say, I really enjoyed being matched with a complete and total stranger who knew absolutely nothing about me, and choosing to identify one of my personal insights, which was, you know, kind of bold, but it was really helpful to talk through in like a systematic way with someone who just doesn't know me and could like hear and sort of reflect back some of the things that I was saying. So I appreciated that a lot.
All right, just by a show of hands, and you don't have to, if the answer is no, it's no. Have you all come out of this with one action item moving forward that you're excited about? Just show of hands, if you have, kind of. Okay. All right, awesome. So I want to just finish with two quick things. Number one is, don't forget about resilience and adaptability. Sometimes we get stuck. We have an idea, we're not sure how to move forward, we get demotivated, whatever it might be. If you go back to, you know, the teachings of Rhoda, there's a lot of insight there about how to, you know, get past that using this. This is a very specific model that was supposed to be very practical, just to help you move forward. The resilience and adaptability is where you get stuck in, just in terms of demotivated, or, you know, really just finding ways of moving forward. And then just to, you know, number one is that this is surfacing a lot of opportunities, and just taking the time to recognize them. When you start them, it might not all be today, and it might be where things get normalized. The timing is important. Less is more. Don't expect too much. Just take it one thing at a time. And gratitude. And, you know, we'll usually do it, you know, a round of gratitude, but I also think that there are so many positive things happening at the moment. That is also an opportunity for us to just turn around and appreciate different things about this period, in and amongst the time that it's also been very challenging. So just to end. So it is 10 o'clock, or 1 minute past 10, 3 p.m. EST. As always, we will stay on for a few minutes for those that want to, or with some questions. And if not, we look forward to seeing you in other forums along the way. And thank you very much for participating.
Thank you.